Yes, please. Geetika.
Hello. Non alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD as it is called, is quickly becoming one of the most common liver problems around the world. It now, in fact, affects 1 in 4% globally. And the worst part is that we don't even come to know that we have fatty liver unless and until it gains a more serious note. Since it's closely linked with obesity and diabetes, it's become very important to raise awareness about fatty liver disease and find ways to manage it. Keeping this in mind, welcome today to a session on NAFLD. We are very pleased to have Dr. Khan among us, who's a committed doctor and who strongly believes that along with modern medicine, natural lifestyle based approaches are very important. Dr. Khan is founder of eMedicare, which is a global platform that focuses on holistic health. Through eMedicare, Dr. Khan has helped so many people take control of their health using a well rounded holistic approach. So let's now, without wasting any time, directly go to Dr. Khan and learn few things about fatty liver disease and how we can manage it. So it's over to you, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Geetika ji, for giving a beautiful introduction. And yes, we are actually focusing on helping a lot of people in coming off medications in terms of metabolic issues, where in first place you don't require any kind of medication in terms of reversing or in terms of you think to reverse the disease naturally or to conquer the disease naturally, metabolically issues. So now let's today we are talking about fatty liver, which is a very huge concern today. Is a burning topic now. Like if you say almost 25 to 30% of the people globally are currently being diagnosed as fatty liver disease, and there are another 50 to 60% of the people who are there who are still not been diagnosed. So almost such a huge evidence we can see now in fatty liver in terms of fatty liver diseases. So incidents are rising globally, and this is not good. So today we'll explore what is fatty liver and what is. And if you see, before 1980s, a lot of people who were diagnosed with fatty liver, they were basically alcoholics, right? So alcohol, basically, what happens is the ethanol in the alcohol it goes and metabolizes in the liver, and directly it converts into fat. And people, especially who are having a lot of alcohol, are stuck to alcoholic drinks on a regular basis and who consume a lot of alcohol on a regular basis, they develop fatty liver because the alcohol gets metabolized directly in the liver and then it converts to fat. So that was very common. That was very common affair, and it was quite easy to diagnose fatty liver before 1980s. And after 1980s, a global rise of epidemic you can see of diabetes, obesity, and they are interlinked fatty liver disease. So when I talk fatty liver disease, they have to have some kind of metabolic components attached to that, associated with that disease, fatty liver. So that's like they might be even being diagnosed with obesity, a lot of fatty liver people, and they will be even associated with diabetes, they will associated with high triglycerides. So they are interlinked. So today we're going to understand the difference between the alcoholic fatty liver and the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Okay, so if you see, after 1980s, as I said, there was a global rise of, you can say, a rise of metabolic disorders, metabolic issues globally, and because of that you see a rise in lot of a lot of issue, a lot of diseases linked to metabolic syndrome. It falls into like diabetes falls under that, obesity falls into that, high triglycerides falls under that, even hypertension falls under that. Some of the hypertensions which is being said, like it's not been uh, that kind of the hypertension is there included in a lot of diseases, like even PCOS is part of metabolic issue. So cancer, a lot of cancers fall into that category at the same time. So what is non-alcoholic fatty liver? So this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is the disease which is usually prevalent in the people who are actually non-alcoholics. Okay, so that's why they have actually categorized the people separately and they put in this bracket of non-alcoholic fatty liver patients. So we'll understand how you basically, how actually in this era where you see a global rise of these kind of fatty liver disease, why it has raised so globally, and what is the mitigating factors, and how we can reverse this naturally. This is what we're going to learn today in this presentation. So let me just go back to the presentation and start explaining you a bit of that. What is non-alcoholic fatty liver? So this, we see this is so prevalent liver condition around the world. So almost 25% of the global population today are being affected now. And it's a silent epidemic, if you see, so it requires a lot of understanding. If you understand in first place why actually you have developed the fatty liver, then it becomes quite easy for us to reverse it. So it's all about the understanding. So how well you understand your ailment is very, very important. This is what we're trying to do through this platform. We're trying to make people aware and educate and empower them with knowledge of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and knowledge of a lot of diseases which can be reversed basically. So today's topic is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And here, if you see the global pattern of almost 25% of the global population is quite high, if you see. And if you don't control this, people might land up into a lot of other complications related to liver insufficiencies. Like, and if you see this, our programs, what we have designed the program is to basically reverse the non-alcoholic fatty livers, which is evidence-based dietary interventions, right? Then we involve lifestyle modifications also. We help you change your habits, right? We give you compliance, personalized support, and we basically address the root causes of the different conditions. So we have helped a lot of people with fatty liver disease to reverse their fatty livers. We have a lot of people and currently helping a lot of people with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, to come off the medications and lead a very holistic life. Then we help a lot of people with autoimmune disorders as well, like people suffering with celiac disease, people suffering with rheumatoid arthritis, people suffering with Hashimoto thyroiditis, right, and rheumatoid arthritis. So we actually help these people to even not only to reduce their recurrences of the flare-ups. We have interesting ulcerative colitis patient as well, where he was being told, he was being every few months, I can say, we have been pushed to take corticosteroids, and after coming our programs, there's zero flare-ups now. We actually encourage him to stop corticosteroid and include some good dietary dietary interventions, which we actually advised that person. And today there's zero flare-up. So we have so many patients, autoimmune disorders also, where the people who join us and this flare-ups have subside. Like eczema also, we have patients of eczema also, where we remove the triggering factors from the diet, and otherwise they have been bombarded with emollients and corticosteroids and all that, and that actually led to thinning of the skin at the same time. You understand the issues, and then there was not much relief. And especially in this summer, we have even noticed that after removing the triggering factors from the environment, from the diet, they do inspire that some are supposed to be like cause a lot of flare-ups in eczema patient. But today we have realized with the food is so powerful. Food is so powerful, as we know that today, and this whole functional medicine is based on that food as medicine only. So it's a new field which is coming up, which is growing very fast, and I think a lot of doctors are trying to implement these things now in their regular practices. Because patients are getting wonderful results with this kind of dietary programs. As I said, like even flare-ups have been reduced. We have to not only reduce the flare-ups, we even help patients to even reduce the medications. Like we have some patients where levothyroxine in 125 mcg, we have reduced them to 100 mcgs. So that's interesting stories to share. We have some clients also today to share and discuss about their journey with us. So this is what we have. So it's a global population. It's a global epidemic. You can say almost 25 to 30% of the people are being diagnosed, and many people are being still undiagnosed, and they're. This is what I can say. Then the next stage is like how, if you see the prevalence of this disease, if you see one second, this is global average. If you see the rise of global average has been increasing tremendously. If you see in the UK, in the United Kingdom, there are almost 20 to 30% general population, with estimated 12 million billion people. 12 million Britons basically have been affected with this one. The prevalence is very, very high in the urban areas and especially among the ethnic minorities in the United Kingdom. This is what is being said. This is what been found that an ethnic minority people with ethnic backgrounds who are living in this country and been found to have prevalence of fatty liver disease, which is very common. The urban population is one of the major victims of this fatty liver conditions. The reason is well known because urban population, the moment the people think differently. Like urban, a lot of stress there. Stress factors also contribute fatty liver. Then in urban, that food, the major criteria is the food. People are busy and they're hooked to too much of cereals and all this processed foods. That's one of the reasons. We're going to explore now what are more other reasons. In rural India, if you see compare the Indian urban population and the rural population, you have the rural population is definitely incidence of fatty livers and metabolic issues are very, very less in the rural because the organic food and the people doesn't rely on a lot of processed foods. But still, if you see now, people are urbanizing in the rural areas as well. So you see the incidence of these modern diseases, like linked to this metabolic issues, is in rise now. So definitely, urban India and urban United Kingdom, there is a huge, huge incidences of fatty livers, which you can see. And if you see if you see in the hospitalization. If you see the hospitalization related to fatty liver disease, not only the hospitalization have rise both in UK and India. So if you see this one, if you see the year wise, 2018, so there were some 20,000 people were been hospitalized in India, and almost 15,000 were hospitalized related to fatty liver disease. And that see that the graph is raising. If you see the incidences of that now in 2022, this 2 years back, it was like almost 23,000 hospitalization. Not only the hospitalization related to fatty, because when you talk about fatty liver, when the people get hospitalized, usually they hospitalize for end stage fatty liver disease, which I'm going to explain you now what different stages are there of fatty livers, how we can reverse it. We're going to discuss how fat is going to influence it, and we have some clients to discuss as well. So, very interesting topic, which I want you to keenly look into this and understand the basically what is the problem, why we are actually seeing so many rise of these hospitalizations. We are talking about modern medicine, we are talking about technology, we are talking about advance in medicine, but why then these people are having these issues? When you're talking about the calories, we know every food product is labeled with ingredients and calories, and still people are rise of this epidemic is there globally. You can see this rise, so this steady increase from 2018 to 2020 in both the UK and India, and you're reporting higher numbers on a regular basis. And not only this hospitalization, just in terms of hospitalization and giving them the cure or treating the patient with the symptoms related to liver disease, cirrhosis, and all that. But even for the transplants as well, if you see the transplant, the number of transplants related to liver has increased tremendously in all across the world, especially in the UK at the same time. So this rise of this so many transplant patients is scary. It's really scary. So in transplants, if you see how much percentage of people have been getting transplants. So if you see related cases, non-alcoholic fatty liver related cases account to approximately 15 to 20% liver transplant, which can be completely reversible. If you understand the basics of fatty liver, why we're actually developing the fatty liver, we can avoid these transplants. 15 to 20% of transplants in the United Kingdom is really quite high, and same in 10 to 15% liver transplants in all cases is because of non-alcoholic fatty liver diseases. Okay, so this trend is increasing, progressing to end-stage liver diseases requiring transplantations. So if we catch the disease in the early stage where it just being a little bit of inflamed or bit swollen or a little bit inflamed, we can reverse this whole situation, whole condition. And we have so much of great examples to share. And there is definitely, when there's a hospitalization, there's a burden on the whole healthcare system, isn't it? On if systems like United Healthcare, we have in United Kingdom, we have something called NHS, which is a great system we have, but there's a burden on the system. Why there's a burden on the system? Because the whole thing is been completely the focus is, if you see the focus of the treating doctors here, I can say, is mostly towards the symptomatic cure. As myself, if you see my story, right? If you see, I'm a medical doctor, right? I'm MBBS medical doctor from India, and after I got a heart attack in 2021, 2020, I got a severe heart attack, and during the heart attack, I was lucky enough to be found on the road by Clarissa and Jane. They helped me up. They picked me up, the nurses, and they took me to the nearby hospital. The hospital stabilized me immediately. Here, the systems are amazing. NHS is one of the best systems I like. I have traveled to a lot of places around the world. I've tried to closely connect, explore different healthcare systems. But I like NHS very well because here the systems are perfectly designed, and here the support system is amazing, especially in terms of emergencies. Right. So in emergencies, as you say, we are the leaders, no doubt about that. Modern medicines, we are lifesavers, isn't it? But when they stabilized me and they put two stents in my heart, after that, they put me on 9 medication. That's when I started exploring. My mom has given me some advice. She has given me some wisdom on the heart health. My sisters gave me some wisdom on my health, and my brother gave me some wisdom. So I implemented this thing and started doing research actually on the food. Because as a doctor, we are not being so fan about food and all that to verify, because we have been kept away from food. We have been kept away. All 99.9% of the medical schools, if you see, we have so huge books. If you see, books are very huge for all our topics. We have huge books and different authors we used to uh, explore. But the thing is, what happening, in terms of food, in terms of learning about the food, we have been kept away. And if you see, we had with small, very, very thin books we used to carry just for fun, when we used to have food lectures. We used to think it's just fun, nothing to learn about that. But we have been too much of being fed about pharmacology. We learned too much about pharmacology, biochemistry, and all those things, but we have missed the important thing, that is the food. We have been kept away from food. So after my heart attack, when I start learning about the food, I have today. I've implemented 3 4 things in my diet, and a lot of videos are there in my thing. I just implemented a few things, and it's these 4 things I implemented, just 4 things in my diet, and these 4 things natural food I have implemented in my diet, and because of that, I could remove all my 8 medications from my list of medications. I'm saving almost 250 to 300 pounds. That's a huge money here. NHS even say it pays for your medication as well. This great system, as I said. And after I was diagnosed, I was put on 9 medication. And when I started to work on my food, I started implementing dietary diet. I've actually implemented dietary program, you can say, on my own self, to start with. I did that, and today, thanks to those 4 things, thanks to my wisdom from my seniors, from my elders, when I started researching on those things, it has tremendous effect on the heart, tremendous effect on the cholesterol, reversing the lipids, then reversing metabolic issues. So I started implementing those things in my diet. I shift my food pattern from Asian food type, because we have tend to have a lot of oils, and we're not fully aware of what kind of oil also. Like, if you see a lot of people here still have palm olive oils and sunflowers oil, which are actually not good oils. We discuss about the oils also, food also, in a bit now. Okay, so now I want to change my food, and I change it to the Mediterranean style of food. That's when I started feeling amazing. I started feeling natural. When I was on the medication, I was put on medication almost for 8 months to 1 year. I took medications, and I was not feeling good. Like, palpitations was still on there. My hands and feet were cold, and I was not feeling so active and energetic. I was always lethargy and all that. I was thinking, oh, my life is gone or what, because of one single episode of heart attack. But when I changed myself, I changed my habit, I changed my lifestyle, I started cooking food myself. I started making food for myself from the scratch. That was the first step towards my holistic health. And I think that has helped me a lot by changing my diet, and just including some natural supplements in my diet. And that's why when I could achieve that, today my ejection fraction is fantastic, and my I do yogas. I start my day with yoga. Like, I do toughest of yoga, like, Surya Namaskars. I do almost 100 of set in a day. I do push-ups. I do push-ups every day, almost 50. My sets are like almost 50. So I could do more strenuous exercises, I could be more physical, I could be more active without the medications. So when I removed the medication, I mean, just went on to a dietary program, dietary guidelines, strictly following dietary guidelines, and implement and change my lifestyle and my habits. That was enough for me to achieve optimal health. And today, I can beat, like, youngsters with even 30 years of ages. Like, I can beat them with push-ups and yogas, and I can challenge them, to be very frank. This all I could achieve it just because of the food, just because of, so God has created food, so much of power in the food. We need to be aware of that. This medications, fine, lifesavers, I'm not saying no, it's not. We need life-saving medication, but not for chronic medications. To be very frank, we should think twice. We should learn basically what we are actually having, because we are not being completely being given a transparent information about the disease or what we are suffering, which we are trying to bring now to these kind of platforms. So there's a huge crisis there, liver crisis there, which could have been reversed if doctors would have actually put them on dietary programs rather than putting on the medications. This is what I could say that I can say this. So now, not only the adults, even in the children, my goodness, there's an alarming rise of diabetes and obesity in the children. Definitely, because the children are being given so much of processed foods, like, their cereals, and they are hooked to sugars and chocolates and all that. So the percentage of UK in children, and the percentage of adolescents who are actually suffering with this alarming trend is almost 10 to 17%, is right, quite high. Okay. And you can see almost double the rise of global incidences, in the last decade. So this is quite alarming situation. So we should be aware that for the sake of global health, we should be aware of these things, and this could have been reversed. These figures could be reversed. It's like, if we just understand and try to implement few things in our life. So now let's go back to the stages of NAFL. So there are stages there. When it's usually, when people are diagnosed, they are diagnosed accidentally, fatty livers, when they're going for some other ultrasounds, and or they're going for some bloods, like where their AST and ALT, like SGOT and GPL, GOT. These are these are the thing, liver parameter, liver things, like, the liver. uh, so these are the things actually increasing, liver parameters, so you need to see that, this is basically an accidental, most of the diagnosis is done accidentally. Okay, because when they go for the blood sugars and biochemistries and all that, so during that time they see this alanine, ASTs and ALTs are increasing in this, in their in the blood, and they even see this on scans. They see this fatty liver. So that's when we usually getting diagnosed, usually on that. Otherwise, people, when they have this chronic issues like chronic fatigue and chronic and the obesity, that's when they go for this investigation, that's when they're coming to know. So there's the steps which are there, there are stages which are there. If you understand these stages, we'll understand how easy it is for us to actually reverse these issues. So the first stage is basically a simple steatosis. There, what happens is there's no inflammation there. It's just the accumulation of the fat here. So if you see the accumulation of the fat here, so let me just go to one of the pictures here. Here's the picture here. Normal cell. The normal cell is here. The normal hepatocyte. We have this normal hepatocyte. They become a little bit enlarged when the fat gets deposits here. So how this fat is getting deposited, we're going to discuss a little bit on that as well after a while. Okay. So if you see this normal liver and the liver, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver, here the cells are different. So hepatocytes here become enlarged. Hepatocytes are the cells which are actually liver cells. And here, what is happening is, during this fatty liver disease, first the fat cell, which is actually fat cell, which is actually a cell which is there in the liver, it is actually increasing in the size. You see the fat droplets. First it becomes increasing size, because in the same cell, when you're putting one single triglycerides and you're adding, pushing, try to put more triglycerides in that same cell, so that cell increases in size, with the fat in that, and that is the first step. That is called, when it's increasing the size, it is called, I'll take you back. It is called NASH. That is called NASH. That is non-alcoholic hepatitis. So what is this NASH called? Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. So this hepatitis is nothing but itis is nothing but the inflammation. So inflammation is being developed because the stretch when the cells got stressed out because of the stretching and they get inflamed, and that's when the stage 2 starts. Otherwise stage 1 is just the layer of fat there. It says just around 20 to 25% of the fat there. That's it. That's a stage 1. And stage 2 is about the inflammation. That is, the whole cell gets uh, bloated, and after the blot after this blotted, and that's the inflammation is happening there, and because of inflammation there's a ballooning there, and this damage starts to become in the stage 2. Basically it starts to become problematic. The stage 3 is about scarring, okay, and then stage 4 is about cirrhosis. So stage 3 is about scarring, where you can see some scarring of this tissue. Okay, so this tissue, let me take you back to the same uh, cell. So here, if you see this, inflammatory cells get accumulated here because of inflammation. When there's inflammation, when the injury, anything, all the inflammatory cells rush to that, say, healing cells rush to that. So if these inflammatory cells rush there, and they call non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. And in future, I mean, that's not been reversed. It's not been taken care of. It's thus not been focused on by the therapist. It might line up into fibrosis and cirrhosis, and that cirrhosis is complete scarring of this fat tissue, and because of that you might have a lot of complications. You develop ascites, you develop hematemesis, you get develop a lot of issues because of that, and eventually definitely will happen into cardiovascular issues and the death. And you get portal hypertension also because of this. You get so this is a lot of, it attracts a lot of complications, so a lot of complications. So it is good for us to understand the stages, and these stages gives us the understanding that we can reverse this disease. Stage 1 is reversible. Stage 2, which is the first step, is actually is basically, and that's also reversible. That's a no inflammation state. Then we have 3, that is, if you see here is let me go back now. I showed you the stages there. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. So stage 1 is just an accumulation of the fat there, and it is 100% reversible. Stage 2, just a beginning of inflammation there, that is also completely reversible, right? That's when you start fibrosing it, when the liver's tissue start to fibrose, right, thicken up, okay, and that's when the issue starts. So we can, they say, even in this stage still possibilities that reverse. Stage 4 is the cirrhosis stage, which is not, it is irreversible stage. That's when people require liver transplants. Okay. Now let's go to another slide, and we'll understand. So we understand the stages now. Let's understand a bit of sources of liver fat. How the liver is getting fat, right? So why, how, from what sources the liver actually is accumulating the fat? One is the plasma fatty acids, that is from the plasma, that is from the fatty acids, is getting fats. Then fats from the meals, that is usually in the evening meals. When you take the evening meals, that's basically, that's fat. So that's why you say, yeah, eat food a little earlier, right? So then another important process through that we are getting the fat getting synthesis in the liver is de novo lipogenesis. That is called de novo lipogenesis, and this is what happens in the normal cell, normal liver, and then abnormal liver. If you see, in normal liver, de novo lipogenesis is nothing but a formation of the fats. It's a new formation. It's a lipogenesis is the formation of the fat. So that in the normal liver, it is usually 10%. So how we forming that de novo lipogenesis? How this is actually, how the fat is getting accumulated in the liver. It is not from the fat what you eat. It is from the carbs what you eat. So, right? It is from the glucose. It is from the sugars what you eat basically. That is actually converting into fat. That is actually converting into fatty liver. Okay, so it is not the fat what you eat, it becomes a fat, but it is the basically the carbs, the glucose, and the fructose what you have being, that's what is getting converted into fatty acid, right? So that is the process is called de novo lipogenesis. Okay, this de novo lipogenesis, if you see NAFLD, that is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, in that situation, that percentage is raised. So if you see this, the percentage of de novo lipogenesis is almost 23%. Otherwise, it's just 10%. You're converting from carbs, normal liver, from carbs, from glucose and fructose to fat. It is just 10%. Now, with this situation, it has increased multiple folds, right? And same, the plasma fatty acids, which are supposed to be exported from the liver, get exported from there, and that's happening 42% from in normal fat hepatocyte. And if you see abnormally cells, they even the plasma fatty acids export is been reduced. And so this is what actually it is not the fat which is converting into fatty liver, but it is actually the carbs. So if you see the fat synthesis here, the liver converts excess carbohydrates into fatty acids, and these fatty acids are assembled into triglycerides. So when we eat carbs, what is happening is too much of glucose. What happens to the glucose when you eat glucose, or when you eat carbs, when you're having simple carbs or processed food? What happening is it first converts into glycogen, the storage, the extra energy which is there, which has come in the form of glucose, from a food in a body. That energy is getting storage in the form of glycogen. But the glycogen has a limited storage, glycogen. And after that, it has to get converted into fat. So that's what is happening. So when you take regular meals, that's the biggest. Actually, I can say I'm going to discuss about that also, why doctors tell you to eat on repeated small meals. This is what I told so many patients when I was not aware. Like, I told my patients, like, eat smaller meals. This I said because it improves actually, that's the problem there. The smaller meals, every time you eat meals, smaller meals, you're releasing insulin in your body. So that insulin is actually what is happening. Insulin is good because insulin is needed for the glucose to convert into energy, right? And that helps you to sustain life. That's important for you. But the same thing is, if it's more in quantity, if anything is more, that's the problem, right? So insulin, when you're eating every time, the insulin is releasing every time you're releasing insulin, and that's when it is converting this extra glucose into fat. So every time you eat carb, that carb is not getting converted into any other thing other than fat, right? So when you're eating fat, fat is healthy. When you eat bad fat, that's what it is going and converting into fatty liver. But if you're having good fats, right, good fat, like, mono unsaturated fatty acids, if you're having that, so these are the fats which are actually good fats, right? Saturated, unsaturated fats are there. So unsaturated fats are supposed to be good fat, in that you have mono and poly are there. So those fats are actually good for your body, which is good for the healing process, good for creating hormones and vitamins in the body, which are needed for you to survive. Fats, but carbs. That's what. So carbs is what actually the problem here is. We have people are thinking that it's just the fat will make us a fat. No, it is the carbs which actually converts into the fatty acids. Okay, so this is what we have to understand today, and that fats, what we are actually when what our insulin is creating more in the body, that is actually nothing but the triglycerides. And these triglycerides go and deposit in and they become LDL. And that's what your doctors say, like, lipids are high. Why lipids are high? Because of carb, because of sugars, because of too much of simple carb, the processed foods in our food, in our diet. So that's what happens. So we understood that. Do you know? So we understood that it's not because the fat we are getting fatty liver. It's because of the carbs we are getting the fatty liver. Okay, so that exploring a little bit of glucose. If you see the starches, what starches? The starches are nothing but the rice, bread, potatoes, and flour. These are the things which is actually converting into fat in our body. So starches are the culprit there. Starches like rice, bread, potatoes, and a lot of flour. These are actually converting into our fats in our body. Okay, first into glycogen we need for energy, but it's too much of we are eating all these things. If you are having too much in our diet, then it will convert into fat, fatty livers, and obesity, diabetes, and all metabolic related issues. So now, if you see glucose can be utilized by the whole every organ of the body, unlike fructose. Okay, fructose is the problem in the fructose is it doesn't basically get metabolized any other cells of the body. It only get metabolized in the liver, like ethanol, like alcohol. So the problem here is more of a fructose more than a glucose. If you see, so if you see sugar, what sugar has one molecule of glucose, one molecule of fructose, sugar. Glucose and fructose, both are there in that. But the problem is the fructose more than the glucose. The problem is the fructose. So what where we find the fructose? We find fructose in high fructose corn syrups. Every processed food you can see high fructose corn syrups are there. So when you see these labelings, you need to be very particular to avoid this fructose especially. And you see it in table sugars as well, this fructose, right? So these corn syrups, you see a lot of things like in a lot of breads also you add there are corn syrup into that. A lot of processed food, a lot of tin food, you see corn syrups there. So you need to be aware of this corn syrup, high fructose corn syrups, and try to avoid those fructose corn syrups if you want to reverse your fatty liver. Okay, if you want to live healthy, because this fructose is the big problem there. Glucose is definitely problem because too much of consumption will definitely convert into fatty fats in the body. It could be fatty liver or obesity, right? And then it could, and the fructose, because it and any other cell cannot metabolize fructose, right, in the body. So fructose is, too much of fructose directly get metabolized in the liver, and that's what causes the fatty liver. Okay, so sugar consumption. So glucose, so primary energy source for cells, metabolize virtually all tissues. Then it primary metabolized in the liver. So it says like, fructose is metabolized only in the liver. So but glucose can be metabolized virtually all the cells of the body. And it stimulates insulin release, promoting glucose uptake and storage. It converted to intermediates, promote de novo lipogenesis. So basically, the de novo lipogenesis is the big issue here. What is happening is you're making lipids in the body from new sources. Like what sources? Like fat from carbs. From carbs, you're making this thing. So that's carbs is dangerous. So we need to understand a little bit of that more about the foods, and then how we can avoid that. So let's key concept, Alice. Let Before I jump into the food, let's understand a little bit about liver food accumulation. So like excess fat is stored in inside liver cells, leads to NAFLD. So it's clear now. We need, after hearing all this, it's clear that excess fat which is stored in the liver in the hepatocytes leads to non-alcoholic fatty liver. So what is happening? The glucose is a six carbon structure which is actually metabolized in the liver and the other organs at the same time. Fructose is the thing which actually metabolizes only in the liver and which is linked to fat production. So if you see hogs grow, if you see there are a lot of lot of animals are being fed with corn, corn. A lot of animals have been fed with corn. Why? Because when you feed the animal with corn, lot of corn, so they produce a lot of good fat, and that meat is supposed to be good quality of meat, isn't it? So it's the fructose syrups which are actually put you into overweight category. So that's what we have learned today. The glucose, we understood a little bit about fat accumulation in the liver, how it is formed. That is, it is not from the old fat, but it is from the carbohydrates. We understand that. Then we understood that fructose, too much of fructose syrups in the body, in our consumption of food, definitely is expediting the process of fatty liver, because the fructose is the only sugar which actually get metabolized only in the liver, so it gets converted to fat. So source of liver fat is dietary fats and sugars contribute. So dietary fats is the saturated fats which we're talking about. The saturated fats are basically the fat, when you see a fat which is solid in structure, solid in structure, that's basically saturated, like cheese and all that. So all these fats which are actually saturated fat is not a good fat, and from there you develop the fatty liver, and even from the carbs, from the sugars, from the rice, from the starches what we eat, that's what we develop fatty liver from. So what are the risk factors and causes? So if you see risk factors and causes, they are interlinked. Usually people with obesity, they will have fatty liver. With fatty liver, they will see that most of the people are obese at the same time. So it's all interlinked basically. So insulin resistance is definitely type 2 diabetes. If you see type 2 diabetes, the main problem is insulin resistance. But doctors, and we are all, most of the doctors are just focusing on medication, symptomatic cure. We all know that. That's a different topic to discuss any which ways. I have many videos now online with myself, and a lot of doctors are talking about this anyways now. So then metabolic syndrome, because part of metabolic syndrome, so we need to understand this all falls under metabolic syndrome. Food related to food all falls under metabolic syndrome. If we remove this, if we remove the triggering factors, if we remove this dietary factors which are actually negatively affecting our metabolic health, if we remove those issues from our diet, then we can reverse everything. All the metabolic components will start falling into normal. Like, people who have actually, we help people to reduce their obesity. We were helping people to remove the diabetic medication. They started losing weight. Not only diabetic medication they could able to stop, they could stop statins, which are actually, to verify, has a lot of side effects. Statins, atorvastatins. Then we even help them to reduce sometimes, some of the patients, they have even stopped taking hypertension medications. So this is all part of the metabolic syndrome. This all falls under one cluster of diseases. So you should know this. Such an important information. You have been kept away from this. If you know this, that all these fall in one category. Obesity, diabetes, like, insulin resistance, and dyslipidemia. This all fall under one cluster of disease, one syndrome. If we focus on this root cause, that is the insulin resistance for all these things, all these issues, insulin resistance. If you just reverse that, insulin, because it's talking about hormones, right? Insulin is a hormone. So we talk about hormones, we don't talk about the calories, because the calories in and out is a wrong phenomena. So we'll discuss about that also, why it's wrong, because it has not helped anybody, to very frank. It's been there. Calories, see, almost 40 years we are talking calories, calories, calories. What happened with the calories, right? There's nothing happened with the calories. It's about the hormones. So when we put you on the program, when we put people on the program, we talk about the hormones. How about the insulin? It is the insulin hormone which is actually getting influenced with the food you take, right? So will be trying to regulate the insulin hormone through our dietary programs, right? Not the calories. We, to our people, when they come to us, we don't restrict them the food. We tell them, okay, have it, but at the same time we tell them to have this time, have this long gaps. Put them on interview, and then we give them all right support, whatever they need and images. So these are the dietary factors. So this is basically, we need to understand that some medications can also causes this thing. Like amiodarone is there. Corticosteroids can, if somebody is on corticosteroid, they can develop fatty liver. Okay, so medications are there. So a lot of things, a lot of medications could also lead up to fatty liver. And sedentary lifestyle, because now everybody is hooked to sedentary lifestyle. Now if you see kids, they're all, screen time has increased, and there's no much activity happening there among these young kids these days, because they are hooked to a lot of video games. A lot of screen timing is there. They're basically screens. So, and that's leading up to sedentary lifestyle. Okay, that's another thing. And too much of it's a science, it's a study been done that in UK there's almost like, 50 to 55% of the people, they start the day with processed foods. Like they start the day with the high calorie foods, and that's one of the reasons for people to develop fatty liver, incidence of fatty liver and metabolic issues. So uncovering the culprit. So what is the culprit? We understood now the fatty liver. So what are the culprits? Culprit is, of course, metabolic mayhem is there, right? That's one of the issues there. That obesity is there, insulin resistance is happening, metabolic syndrome is developed because of this, and dyslipidemia. These metabolic factors are the heavyweight champions. They are actually fueling the rise of NAFLD. Then dietary downfall, because if you stick to high calorie diets, excessive carbs and sugars, and fructose overload, right, in corns, like, in corn syrups, if you're having too much of that, trans fats, if you have too much there, that's a culprit. Then you have genetic issues are there, then definitely, which can be can predispose individuals to the development of this disease. Okay, then other factors, lifestyle, we know it, lifestyle, because people not moving too much these days. And then sudden weight loss, also another reason for that. Then medications, certain medications we discussed, and then gut microbiome. Now the science says the gut microbiome, right? So they have recently been found one of the bacteroids, we call one of the species of the bacteria in the gut. If they have seen that, that gut microbiome is depleted, people will develop obesity because of that. That's a healthy gut microbiome. That's what we have, scientists have come to know now recently. So there's too many factors are there. It's just not the medications which will help you to reverse this. Okay, so we need to understand that is in our own hands. A lot of cure is on our own hand, basically. Okay, so clinical symptoms, and so how we'll understand per person when they develop what clinical symptoms they develop. So advanced stages, you have different clinical symptoms. Then progressive stage, you have different clinical symptoms. Then early stages, you are completely different. Like early stages, people are usually asymptomatic. They must be having fatty liver, but they must be asymptomatic. They must have simple mild fatigues, or like some pain in the right upper quadrant where the liver is located, or generalized weakness could be there. That's usually early stages, and that could be asymptomatic at the same time. Then we have something called progressive stage, where persistent fatigue and abdominal discomfort can happen. Then weight loss is there, weakness is there. That's what can happen in the stage of NASH. And NASH is about steatohepatitis. Basically, it's an inflammation stage. The second stage, after once is the swollen stage, then the inflammation stage. Okay, that's what is NASH stage. And here they can have continuous fatigue and abdominal discomfort, and weakness is definitely there. Then advanced stage is the most dangerous stage, and that's what we have to think, concern, and we need to understand this whole issue in different stages for us to understand when we are suffering with what kind of symptoms basically. So, and how and easy it can be reversible if we understand the stages. Advanced stage is the stage which is very dangerous, and we can avoid this stage. You develop in the stage jaundice, edema, ascites, spiral angiomas, and a lot of hepatic encephalopathy, portal hypertension, as I said, then esophageal varices. You start, hemoptysis. You start, throwing up blood from the mouth, from the throat. So we need to be very careful. And if this completely reversible, I feel so sad when people, when especially when educated people also, like, getting these kind of ailments. People who are not aware, understand, people not been updated. Now people are so much of information online is there. You have too much of information available there for us to seek and learn and reverse the diseases naturally. If you can do that. And there's some diseases definitely you have to have some medication has to be prescribed there, and intervention has to be like surgical intervention, all there. Then all those things are needed. But there's some diseases which you don't require medication. You don't have to go that. You can't completely reverse just by changing your lifestyle, just understanding about the food, how it affects on our body. So basically, every food what we eat goes with the information. If you learn that information, that's enough for us. That information, you don't have to know the calories. That's a failed model. We need to understand the what food will go and convert. That's we are giving you this now. When people who come to our program, they join our programs, and by the end of the program, they are fully aware, they're fully empowered with the knowledge of food. So they don't need dietitians anymore. They understood. So we have so many cases like that. We have so many people who have got empowered with this our programs, and they could easily uh, take care of themselves. So now some few things which are like unusual symptoms which are attributed to fatty liver: chest pain. People might some people might get some chest pain there. Some people think it's a chest pain, but it's not chest pain. It could be because of fatty liver. The liver is like, enlarged, and it gets pushing the heart, and it's developing this like, chest pain, like anginal kind of pains. So they develop that. Even the people develop gynecomastia also. That's another weird symptoms of fatty liver, and that's because that's the estrogen is not getting excreted from the body, from the liver properly. So the liver functions is what it detoxifies. The function of the liver, if you see, many functions are there. It basically metabolizes. Then you have like, filter. It filters, and detoxification is another thing. It helps in the your hormonal balancing and all that. So that's been imbalanced, and that's why people develop gynecomastia. And then you have vitamin A deficiency. Also, people suffering with fatty liver. So why they develop fatty liver, vitamin A? Because the fats are not getting properly absorbed. Because bile is being compromised there. The production of bile in the liver is being compromised. You develop this vitamin A deficiency as well. So diagnose simple. As I said, the liver function test, you have to check for elevated ALTs and ASTs, SGOT, SGPT we call it. We used to call it in India SGOT and SGPT. So they would see that elevated there, and that's usually, and that could be other reasons also. That could be other reasons also. So some other inflammations as well. So that doctor we need to understand and do more. So that's the first thing we usually come across in the. That's when we think, okay, now the SGOT and SGPT is high, so probably because some problem with the liver enzymes, right? Liver test is abnormal, liver test. So we'll start to look on that. So we'll try to do more understanding of the patient. Then we see other tests also, like definitely lipidia, because as it's part of metabolic syndrome, so you have lipid issues at the same time, right? Then you have HbA1c, because elevated HbA1c is also fine because they have diabetes at the same time. That's another thing which you can find. Then you have ultrasound. Ultrasound is the golden standard is definitely liver biopsy, but you have this MRI is also supposed to be more accurate and non-invasive quantifications, like so where it tells us like what is the percentage of steatosis, like fat deposits, like if it's more than 30%, you can detect in ultrasound, like in fibroscan you can detect the fibrosis and the cirrhosis, the fibrotic changes can be detected from this from fibro scans, then MRIs and CT scans is what we needed. Liver biopsy is what we do if doctors want to understand the exact stage. So they remove the piece of the liver and just send it to the lab and just stage it, and then on that basis we'll come to know what exactly the stage is. So now, dietary intervention. Let's come to this important topic of dietary intervention and NAFLDs. This is what we are trying to do, achieve, and we are trying to help people here. So Mediterranean diet is supposed to be one of the good diets. If somebody is having fatty liver, they get hooked. They should start looking into Mediterranean type of approach of food. Like how is what it consists of. It has a lot of olive oil. It has a lot of good oil. Olive oil is supposed to be one of the good oils, right? There are a couple of oils which have been. I can just take two, three names here with the oils. If you want to try any oil, but try a few oils. Avoid all the other oils. Just get hooked to this olive oil, one of the good oils, right? You have this avocado oils, one of the very good oils, anti-inflammatory properties it has. Then you have this coconut oil, which has tremendous anti-inflammatory properties. It helps in cutting down the fat. So these three oils are one of the good oils. Otherwise, all other oils, seed oils, and all of the so many oils are there. They are supposed to be rancid oils, and they're not supposed to be very good. Okay, so these three oils are supposed to be good oils. And if you see this Mediterranean diet approach, they are full of abundance of olive oil and olives at the same time. They add nuts to your fruits, vegetables, and start making the food from its scratch from the home. Start making food in the home, and when you make the food from home, that's is what all it has to look naturally. The food when you eat something, it has to look like a natural food. Where it has to be. And what is happening in this Mediterranean diet is the food approach is been linked, is been associated significant reduction in the liver fats and improvement in overall metabolic parameters. So what I did the same thing. I did the Mediterranean diet. I just hooked myself to a Mediterranean diet approach where a lot of fruits are there, a lot of vegetables are there, a lot of nuts are there. I just did that, and today, you can see that, so the huge improvement is there. I don't take atorvastatin. I don't have to take nothing. I was having so much of issues, metabolic issues. Because of that, I got the heart attack, right? Because stress was one of the precipitating factors which causes metabolic syndrome, isn't it? So I was going through stress, and my diet was not good and all that, and I developed high lipids, and because of that metabolic issue, then I got heart attack. That's another called the metabolic syndrome, as I was saying, metabolic syndrome. And I said, I just hooked to Mediterranean diet in completely reverse today, and I got my lipids checked recently. Everything is fantastic. So now this low carb and high fat diet, we have to reduce the carb. Now we know that the issue is the carb, not the fat, right? Not the fat, right? Not the unsaturated fat, right? Saturated fat still has the issue, but not the unsaturated fat. But the here is what we are talking about is low carbs and high fat. When you're talking about high fat, here we're talking about high fat which have healthy fats. You're talking about healthy fats. Okay, what is the healthy fats? Like avocados and eggs, and these are the forms under the healthy fat, like coconut oil. These are all falls under healthy fats. This and nuts basically. So these all fall under healthy fat. So we usually encourage, we put people or come on a program usually on LCHF diets. Then you give them on intermittent fasting. This is with science is now proved that time restricted eating protocols is fantastic now. Now it's been proved, it's been research, it's been confirmed that intermittent fasting can help a lot of reversing a lot of diseases. It helps in autophagy. It helps in autophagy, reduce insulin resistance, which is major problem. Insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is the problem which actually leading people to type 2 diabetes, isn't it? So if we put people on intermittent fasting, that insulin sensitivity will improve. Because what is happening is when your body is too much exposed to insulin, you develop insulin resistance. When your body is too much exposed to antibiotics, what happens? Antibiotic resistance, isn't it? So similarly, too much of insulin. Why are we getting too much of insulin in the body? We're eating carbs, processed food. When we eat carbs, processed food, insulin getting released. Insulin getting. So we develop insulin resistance there. So with this intermittent fasting, keep the mouth shut. Just put the insulin level to the minimum. How we can keep the minimal levels? Don't eat. Simple, don't eat. You don't die. Of when you don't eat, when you're doing intermittent fasting, what happens? In starvation mode, humans will die later stage. But in intermittent phase, what is happening in intermittent fasting? You developing good hormones. Body is producing good hormones. That is growth hormones. As I said, our all programs are not based on calories. Our program based on the hormones. So that's why we're getting achievements. That's why you see results in the patients. That's why you see success. Why that's why patients are happy with us, because we put the programs, we put the people on the program, and we basically work on the hormones. Basically, insulin is the hormone, isn't it? That's a major hormone, right? To For diabetes control, isn't it? So that insulin, we need to keep that insulin at the minimalist level, because when you keep the insulin at the minimalist level during intermittent fasting, that's when the insulin sensitivity improve that time. When insulin sensitivity improve, the sugars fall in normal, and fat metabolism and metabolism comes to proper actions. So this is what we are putting people on. And now lifestyle monitoring. So this is what we tell them. Weight management is what very important. Sleep. So stress management, exercise. These are all very important things which we encourage our people, which our encourage our members to do that on a regular basis. Okay. So now what is our approach? So what we do is, when somebody comes to us, we do comprehensive metabolic evaluation of the person. We do complete understanding. We understand their labs. We understand their symptoms, and they understand their issues. We take complete assessment. After the assessment, we do dietary recall. We understand the complete dietary history. We understand what the type of food they eat, what have been eating, what they like, the preferences, the culture, the coffees, how many coffees, how many processed sodas they eat. So everything we take that into consideration. Then we even do the body analysis, like vata, pitta, and kapha, for us to understand what body composition they fall into, so that we can give this appropriate diet. So on the basis of the assessment, we do MDT meetings behind the door. And on this MDT meeting, the multidisciplinary team meeting, where our doctors and our dietitians sit together on each plan before we start putting somebody on a dietary program. Everybody throws their advisors, right? Dietary advisors. And then from there, we club it all. And that's what we put them on programs. So we have beautiful programs with us. We have 3 programs with us. We have diabetes reversal program, which falls into all metabolic issues, like even obesity falls into that. Then even you have lipids fall into that, hypertension falls into that. So that's it, one program where we call it diabetes reversal program. Then we have another program called immune repair program, where we put people on 3 months immune repair. And then we have another program called mind, food, and mood connection for mental health. So because gut is linked with three health systems, like metabolic health, mental health, and immune health. So we all our programs are based on these three health systems. So now we even give them personalized plans, like as I just said, like we give them personalized plans, because after taking the medical history and all that, we have some clients from the Caribbean background. We give them the food linked to the Caribbean palate. So we have some client from uh, from Punjabi background, so we give them as per their little bit of their culture and all that considered. We have some clients from the South Indian place, so we give them that. We have a client in yeah, Qatar, so accordingly we give them the personalized meal plans, tailor-made meal plans. Okay, so that the taste is still being intact. So we're not depriving anyone of any taste. When they come to a program, they'll start enjoying the food. Basically, we'll show them what is mindful eating. We'll show them what is different variety of food and different kind of recipes you can make. Basically, so we help them all with all this. Not only that, we even help them while the doing pantry shoppings. Pantry shopping, like when you're doing pantries, you are confused. You don't know how to read the label. Labels are there, lying there silently in so many packets, but people don't know how to read that, how to understand those labels. So we give the support, through the one-to-one support. It's not in the group, in a general group. One person comes there on a program. In one program, we have one doctor, we have one dedicated dietitian, one dedicated doctor, one dedicated Ayurveda doctor for yoga and all that, for physical activities. And then we have a team member who actually recording all the tracking the whole medical journey of theirs, like their weights, weekly weights. We target put on, we ask them for weekly weights, weekly measurements. We do on, if suppose we require bringing people off medications on daily basis. Sometimes we require twice and thrice. We tell them to chew the blood sugars and put it in the group, and slowly we know the medication, and eventually we bring off the medication. So this is completely one-to-one support we give them, like to everyone who's joining our program. So expected outcomes is definitely great. So baselines like elevated livers will definitely, because they have been suffering since 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. We have patients who come from 10 years, 15 years, patients who are suffering from obesity and diabetes and all that. And we tell them, you've been stuck to those medications for almost 12 years, 14 years, and they come to us. Within weeks they come off medication first, and they started to feel amazing within weeks, days, I can say. they started feeling amazing, and then their even the parameters will start to fall after 6 months, 5 to 6 months. If you see the blood test, they also start falling to behave normally. So this is what our expected outcomes are. Diets that increase NAFLD is non-alcoholic fatty livers is high sugar. I repeat this immediately, quickly, please, one by one. High sugar consumption will increase fatty liver. Ultra processed foods increase fatty liver. अल्ट्रा प्रोसेस फूड जैसा कि हो गया, आप इंस्टेंट नूडल्स हो गए, पैकेट स्नैक्स, रेडी टू ईट मील्स है, all these things, ultra processed foods that increase fatty liver and diabetes. High sugar consumption, of course, everybody knows that sugars in there in candies and ice cream, sweetened beverages, that increases. Then refined carbs, then we have this white bread, white rice, pastries, and all that. These refined carbs. If you eat more, fatty liver increase, fat increase, obesity increase, lipids increase, diabetes increase. Avoid that. Trans fats and healthy fats, hydrogenated oils like deep fried oil foods, which I said is not good. Margarine that increase inflammation and contribute to liver fat. Avoid margarine. A margarine is not a good fat. And trans fats, and avoid saturated fats. You can add a lot of. I'm going to tell you what fats to add in next slide. So now high saturated fat intake. So just avoid this. As I said, I use avoid saturated fat, like cuts of meats. You see saturated fat cut of meats and the fat which are like you see it's solid, like cheese are there, all these things, like then the cut meats are there, like these are all saturated fat. You have to avoid that saturated fat. Then excess alcohol, because alcohol is definitely, we know that alcohol, people who take alcohol, they definitely get fatty liver, and people who take little bit alcohol also, they also get fatty liver, most of them, even they are little. So just avoid alcohol. Diets that reduce that was the diets which increase. Now there is diets which are actually reduced now. Mediterranean diet, which I already told, that remember this Mediterranean diet, anything, anybody having issue, just put them on Mediterranean diet, lot of things will fall into perfection. So now plant-based diet, this we put people on FMDs. We have something called fasting mimicking diets, where we put people on this diet pattern for 5 days in every month. People who come on program, we put them on 5 days of FMDs, that is plant-based diet, completely plant-based. It is now been proved that FMDs, 5 days of FMDs every month can help beat metabolic issues, and it will help even beat the cancers. So plant-based diet is very good because high in fiber. It has a lot of antioxidants in there. You have a lot of phytonutrients in that. So you just add a lot of vegetables, fruit, legumes, and whole grain. It will help reduce inflammation, oxidative stress. So what is happening is a lot of inflammation is there in the body. When the sugar is raised, when you're having sugar, when you have diabetes, what happens? A lot of inflammation is happening in your body. Okay, so we have to reduce that inflammation. How we can reduce that? Either we give them some supplements, the drinks, we have turmeric related drinks, we have turmeric, curcumin drinks with us. So we give this all natural drinks, natural supplements. We advise them to do, add this to the daily diets. That will help them to be there oxidative stress and reduce inflammation. Low carb, high fat diet, we already discussed that. Carbs is a problem there. So we are avoiding carbs. That's number one. Avoid carbs, low carbs, right? So that's how you learn that. You can go to a website and download our GI index as well to understand the glycemic index of the different food, what food to avoid, what food to take, consume, and how you can mix different kind of foods. That also you can do that. If you have any questions, anything related to that, you can connect with us. You can do a free consultation with us. You can go to our website, the consultation site, consultation lounge. You connect with one of the dietitians. We are ready to give you free consultation. If we can help you. So then it says another thing is a coffee consumption. People who take coffee is very good. Coffee, one coffee a day is fantastic. No problem. It reduces liver enzyme levels. That's amazing. So that's will help us. Have patients with suffering with fatty liver disease, I suggest they should have coffee consumption on a regular basis. That will help. Then DASH diets. Then we have this intermittent fasting. As I said, already we discussed that. Then vitamin E is very good, right? It's a powerful antioxidant. You can get in nuts, seeds, and you can where spinach is in that. Then vitamin D is very very common. It is a high correlation between vitamin D and immune disorders. So you have to have vitamin D on regular basis, and your supplementation should improve definitely insulin sensitivity. So the Mediterranean diet, plant-based diet, low carbs and high fat, intermittent fasting, coffee consumption, vitamin E and vitamin D. So this is what you have to remember when you have fatty liver. Okay. And of course, sleep and exercise. We have three S's also. We stress on three S's. Like in stress, we tell you to avoid stress. We encourage you to sleep on time. We encourage you to sports. how we do sports. We tell you to put the steps every uh, day. You have to put the steps, how many steps you have counted, how many steps you have taken. That step counter you have to send that in the group. Then we put them on yogas. We give you yogas. We have yoga conducted by only doctors, Ayurvedic doctors. We don't have YouTube yoga gurus where they learn yogas on the YouTube and started preaching. No, no, we have doctors who give you yoga. So our yogas are for the health. Our yogas are focusing on the health. Basically, if a person, if somebody then before the yoga, they do the again assessment, because we believe in assessment, we believe in complete researching the person, we believe in understanding the problems and how we can focus on the problems mitigated. So we have some patients with us right now today. We'll bring them now one by one. So, how prevention strategies just before that for adults, maintaining healthy weight is important, a regular physical activity is important, Mediterranean diet is important, limited alcohol consumption, and regular health checkups. For children, eat healthy eating habits from early childhood, very important. We have something called school programs, which we want to do it for schools, and we want to encourage the school kids to learn about glycemic indexes, to learn about the processed and unprocessed foods, to learn about the fat, protein, and carbs metabolism. We want to these to learn the basic things for the kids so that they understand and they implement that for longer benefits for them when they grow old, when they get bigger. They avoid all these issues. So this is what is we need to do is to children. We have to basically make them aware. How we can make them aware? Because we need to make them aware by going by educating them. Basically, children, we have something which are coming up for the children in our next webinar. We're coming a yoga for our children in our next webinar, and that time we'll discuss more on how we can help these children suffering with fatty liver and this obesity problem, the metabolic issues. So metabolic issues have gone rise in children. As I say, you get double. It had rise double. In last decade in children. We know that. So we need to avoid that to save this world, I think. So America strategy to reversal. Let's just repeat this before I bring them on the call. One of our members are there. We'll discuss with them how they have gone through a program, how they felt, how they joined us, and what they felt, and how they're feeling currently. So we'll have some live clients with us who can join us now. So before that, even strategy to reversal is simple: food as medicine, personalized nutrition, lifestyle modification, and holistic approach. This is what we believe in. We don't believe in symptomatic cure. We don't want to give you paracetamols. We don't want to give you anything superficial, metformin, Zori. We don't believe in all those things because they're just controlling the sugar. But what is that problem is it's not controlling the issues related to the sugar. The issue related to the diabetes, right? We all know that. Now it's not a hidden fact. A lot of doctors are talking about this on online now. So fine. Let me stop this sharing now and bring in who is coming now? Gitika ji. Let's break. And who's the
So we have Mrs. Yasmin.
Yasmin? Assalamu alaikum. कैसे हैं आप?
वालेकुम सलाम। मैं ठीक हूँ, तुम ठीक हो?
बढ़िया बढ़िया ठीक है. Your brother, how are you, brother?
I'm okay, Dr. Khan. How are you?
Fantastic, great, fantastic. We just like to ask you questions to sister, like how she was feeling and all that. So we're live, we're
Yeah.
recording this one. So I thought discussing with the sister. The sister, how are you now? How are you? So can you just tell me a little bit? थोड़ा sorry, Geetika ji, थोड़ा सा language का है ना? So I think husband can talk, right? You would like to you like to answer,
Yeah,
brother?
it's
Yeah,
okay.
fantastic. Thank you for joining us in short notice, brother. Thank you for us. So now a little bit we want to discuss, when you join us, when was the time, how many weeks back you joined us? Can you just tell a little bit about when you joined us, what were the issues that time? यास्मीन को क्या issues थे जब हमारे पास join करे थे, तो थोड़ा सा आपको हम समझना चाह रहे थे कि क्या है, what are the issues what she was facing when she joined us, and when did she join us? Can you just tell me a little bit about that so that we...
It's been about 11 weeks now. Initially, gradually her health has been going downhill with type 2 gestational diabetes. They just kept increasing the medication. And I knew eventually it was going to lead to, and I could see Yasmin's mindset as well. Initially, she was quite against going on to insulin injections, but as time's gone on and psychologically she was breaking down further and further, and then she was coming to accepting the fact that sometimes she's going to have to go onto insulin. And meanwhile, in the background, I was doing my own sort of research. And I found the only possible way with type 2 diabetes is to remove the fat around the pancreas for it to
Okay.
kickstart. But obviously, that would involve surgery. And we didn't know where to start or how to go about it. The diet wise, I knew there was a lot to do with food as well. But unfortunately, the way we've been taught to cook is,
Yeah.
for example, with spinach, we heat the hell out of it till there's nothing left.
Correct.
But I couldn't convince her that that's not the way to do it. I needed somebody else.
Correct.
And we went to have some blood tests done because we were getting really serious about alternative medicine. And that's when it was the doctor at the private hospital. He
Yeah.
mentioned your good selves and the work that you do. And that's how we got in touch with you. And since then, I honestly, I didn't think it's happened before because it was just the beginning of Ramadan when we got in touch with you guys.
Correct.
And Yasmin tries to do fasting in the previous years, and
Yeah.
she manages to do about one fast. And then for the next week, she's unable to move and function and the rest of it.
Yep.
But it's phenomenal what's been going on with her physical abilities and her ability to sort of function without medication.
Fantastic. Nice to know about that, actually. So she, then after that, was she able to fast, right? She was not able
Yeah,
to fast for so many years, and now after
yeah,
coming on a program, that's what you're trying to
yeah.
say. So she able to
This is
fast
it.
now.
After the first fast, I was, to be honest with you, I was still hesitant. I was thinking, it's happened before. I know what to expect. After the first one, that's it. She's going to be out for a week. But she went again for the second and the third, and she was absolutely fine.
Fantastic. See, the diet plays such an important role, brother. You have seen that now. I
Yeah,
remember your picture. I remember your picture in first week in the group. You have sent me a
yeah,
picture saying
yeah,
something about that. Can you just say something about what you said in the group, because you went for the shopping after after we putting our first meal plan, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What I did was, obviously with the new diet and the kind of food products, going for organic foods and fruit and veg. I was alarmed at the kind of stuff people were choosing off the shelves. You know, the processed foods and so on, trolleys full to. I was shocked, but then I forgot. A week earlier, I was also doing exactly the same. It made a huge difference to be actually aware of what it is that I'm going to put into my body. And that awareness alone has a huge impact because a lot of your thought and your energy and emotion goes into that food.
Definitely, definitely. So this is what you learned, right? This is
Yeah.
what in a different exposure what you got. This is what I'm trying to tell. Like, when we have so many incidents like that, actually, brother. So people, they come to us,
Yeah.
they think they have been eating the best food, because as a doctor myself, we have been,
Yeah.
we have been kept away from food. When I got the heart attack, that's when I
Yeah.
realized what I was eating. I was actually promoting wrong food to the people. I was telling, eat smaller meals, eat more meals in a day,
Yeah.
and, like,
Yeah.
this food is okay. Remove ghee from the diet. Don't have avocado. This is what we've been trained on our medical school. So unfortunately, people are not aware. So this is very important. That making awareness, it will actually help a patient to basically understand the root causes. So this is what, yeah, you can say. So you want to say something, brother?
Yasmin was saying that, prior to yourselves, we've tried so many different people, places,
Yeah,
and coming from the culture
yeah,
of the way our background is, we often were misled into believing that this is something to do with spirituality, and
yeah,
the amount of money we've wasted in wrong avenues, and the ill health that's brought as well with it, to be honest with you. Going to people that are not qualified, people that don't know what it is that they're, as long as that transaction takes place, it doesn't really matter to them.
Can you tell a little bit about her mental status also? If you see now, today, I could see it. I can communicate with her perfectly,
Yeah,
sister. Yeah, yeah.
she was
Because
suffering
before,
from.
I could see initially, before one two assessments which we were doing it, you were only
Yeah,
completely talking there. But now I think
yeah.
she's fully involved in her own plans. She discuss her. She puts her program, her questions. She questions her in the group. Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about health, a little bit of a mental health journey as well, please, with us.
She started prior to coming to yourself. She was very how can I say, very withdrawn, suffering from anxiety and panic attacks. I've never experienced a panic attack as such, so all I could do was listen to what she had to say as to what she was going through, but I couldn't really engage with that and how debilitating it can be. But since starting diet and engaging with food and nutrition, she's completely stopped taking the medication for her anxiety and panic attacks, far more confidence, and she's a lot more in charge of herself. She doesn't need prompting anymore. In fact, if I say to her, look, wait for me, before you go for a walk, wait for me, we'll go together. She says, no, because that might never happen, and then I'll lose that window. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
This is such an inspiring journey, actually, to be very frank.
Yeah.
You're inspiring so many people, Yasmin. Fantastic. See, this is what we want to see in our patients. We have many patients
Yeah.
like this, actually, they have the
Thank
amazing
you.
journeys with their sharing
Thank
with us.
you.
That's a great work you're doing. Actually, all credit goes to you. All credit goes to you, to be very frank, because at the same time, it is your effort is very important in these programs.
Yeah.
People have to take interest in this program. Unless if they're totally used to the medication, they're not going to get these results. So they need to themselves also, like,
Yeah, of course. Of course.
proactivities is needed. They did fantastic, and to be very frank. And how is your tell a little bit about yoga sessions? Like, how is your yogas happening? How yoga helped you?
Yoga के छः गया है?
Yoga very nice, very nice.
She was
पहले तो मैं कोई अंगवा move नहीं सी होना कुदरे भी उन में सारे अपने move करी किन्नी है.
Acha, so you never used to move before. What she's saying is, like, she was having difficulty in the different movements. Now she's able to do that. That's what she's saying, right?
yeah. She was showing when we were getting ready upstairs this morning. She says, "Watch this," and she was doing these squats, and she says, I can sense that everything is opening up, with my joints, and the movement is there, and it's not painful, and it's
पहले इन्हों के बाव के में लम्बी पे उठनी sama लक भी इतना आकड़ी है उन्हें.
yeah. She used to suffer a lot of back pain as well, even from lying down. We tried all these different surfaces, different mattresses to try and deal with that. But now, since yoga, there's no aches and pains.
Fantastic. See, pains, and if you see, the pains are linked to diabetes as well. When your body is too much of you're taking too much of medications, like in the body, what is happening is it's reducing the blood sugar. Where the blood sugar is going, it's going different organs in the tissues, in the cells, and
Yeah.
it's going and rotting them. It starts with pains from there. It starts from inflammation from there. So this is what actually she was having. That it's a problem. फैंटास्टिक. सो अभी अब रात का पहले सोने का अब आपका सोने का डिफरेंस बताइए थोड़ा. पहले सोते थे कैसा, अभी सोते थे?
पहले तो गोलियां खाती थी, गोलियां के साथ सहती थी. अब गोलियां तो वगैरह में सही स्लीप होनी है, जिसे पता लगना कि मैं गोली खाई क्या स्लीप की है. बिल्कुल नॉर्मल बंदे ने स्लीप जड़ी हुई है. गोलियां मारियां सारियां फिनिश हुई गई हैं.
जी जी जी.
नींद वाले में खानी, शुगर वाले में खानी.
जी अब रिपीट करिए. सॉरी, व्हाट्स ही सेइंग?
नो शुगर वाली गोली.
ओके, या शुगर की नहीं खा रहे आप?
नो स्लीप गोली, नो कैस्ट्रोल गोली.
ये कोलेस्ट्रॉल. सो आप 3 गोली पे रोक दिए. 3 गोली पे रोक दिए. और आप वो भी गोली खा रहे थे थोड़ा सा. आप एंजाइटी के लिए, डिप्रेशन के लिए भी एक गोली थी, वो भी रोक दिया. पूरे 4 से 5 गोली रोक दिया आप. और आप यू आर फीलिंग गुड, करेक्ट?
वेरी गुड फीलिंग.
वेरी गुड. अगर मैं आपसे पूछूंगा कि आप दूसरे लोग जो डायबिटीज है उनको कुछ एडवाइस दें, तो आप क्या एडवाइस देंगे? दूसरे लोग जो डायबिटीज है, जो सफर करे, जो टैबलेट खा रहे हैं, अभी भी डॉक्टर के पास जा रहे हैं, परेशान है, उनको क्या बताना चाहेंगे आप?
मैं तो यही बताऊंगी कि डॉक्टर खान के पास जाओ, सब कुछ स्टॉप हो जाएगा. Very nice, very nice. I'm so happy.
Dr. Khan, I've noticed that with any sort of change, with the way life is happening, to make that change, you have to be absolutely sick of the life that you live in. You have to physically become sick of it. Yes. And that's when you're able to do. I think with her friends, the social circle, so many women are there, either pre-diabetes or already diabetic. And all of them are seeing the difference that you guys have made with Yasmin. But I don't think I can sense in them that they're not there. They're not really sick yet. They're getting there
Yes. Yeah. There,
because
yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
inquiring, it shows
Yeah.
there's a sign that there is
People wants to
something
know.
there. That,
People
yeah,
wants to know. This is
but
what we're doing, brother. People are actually, they want to do that. Then they're getting little bit information here and there, but they're still not confident whether this can happen or not. They're not
yeah,
getting. So what we said, that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to, what we're doing is we are bringing dietitians as our partners, okay, and
yeah,
through that we're raising voice. Through that we are saying we're empowering people in the communities in India and
yeah.
UK. So we tie with
Mm.
dietitians across the globe now. So we are that's
In
currently we're doing that
in this country as well,
in this country
there
also.
is
Yeah.
already there is a huge emphasis put on this tablet, that tablet, this tablet, that
Yeah.
tablet. I mean, for the methods that you guys use, had you been communicating with somebody who's been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in a rural part of Pakistan or India, they wouldn't even hesitate to jump and do the course
Yes.
that you guys have to
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
In this country, people are very hesitant because for so
Yeah.
long they've been told it's
Yes.
only the medicine, it's only the medicine, and then
Yes.
suddenly
Yeah.
they're not just fighting
Yeah.
the system, they're also fighting their own programming
Yes.
to
Yes.
say, actually, no, I need to give.
I'm going to give you one very important information here today, brother. In
Mhm,
1976, okay,
mhm,
American guidelines, Diabetic Guideline, Diabetic Association of America, okay, they have given the guidelines saying that eating carbs, they said 60-70% carbs is okay. They reduce the good quality of fat to almost 25-30%. It has to be 30-35%. It has reduced to 20%, like that. So what happened with that? The good fat people started eating less good quality of fat. They included too much of carbs in the diet
yeah,
indirectly. This is because
yeah, yeah,
we need to feel fullness, no, when we eat.
yeah,
So
yeah,
how
of
we
course,
get the fullness? We'll get it only with the good quality of fat,
sure,
not with the
sure,
carbs. When you have processed food,
yeah,
carbs, you can eat
yeah,
so much, you don't feel
yeah,
full, right? So
yeah,
that's what the wrong dietary guidelines America has given 1976. And then 1980, you see the rise of global epidemic. You know why? The decision makers who were sitting, out of 12 people, that 8 people were actually linked to the manufacturing of diabetic
yeah,
medication.
yeah, yes,
So
yes,
that's the
yes,
wrong guideline. That's all business here. This is all business, and
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah,
People should be
yeah,
aware of this. The type 2 diabetes is the completely because of your lifestyle issues, and we just change that lifestyle issues, everything will fall in place. We have with us beautiful example. Yasmin ji is there
yeah.
with us.
There's a huge
Thank you.
potential and absolutely immense market for what it is that you guys do, and I could see it being franchised. Hopefully you'll get good group of people, train them up, and get that going even faster because there's a lot of need for it. To be honest with you,
Yes, yes. We have a trainers now with us, and Gitika ji herself is a trainer with us. She trains
yeah,
people, our team now. She's
yeah,
we are actually going on, trying to definitely on a more to explore and create a
yeah,
lot of awareness and have a lot of people who are dying. Unfortunately, I have close people. My father died of because of medications. I was not
yeah,
aware, unfortunately,
yeah,
because I feel I have actually put my father towards it. I was a second year MBBS student. My
yeah. Of
second year
course, yeah.
MBBS student, when my father, second year, third
Mhm.
year MBBS, when my father first time got heart attack, and I was told to go for this line, but because me medical student, I totally believe in my philosophy of treatment. I feel I have, because if I ever got knowledge, what knowledge I had today now about food, I would have saved his life. Actually,
Of
I
course,
pushed my father towards that. So I want to do that by helping everyone on this earth to come out of this thing. And
mhm.
because when I can come out, everybody can come out. Understand?
Everybody, of course, yeah,
It's all
Mm.
part of metabolic issue only, brother. This part of
of course, yeah,
metabolic.
Mhm.
What
yeah,
blood pressure, cholesterol, everything will start to fall normal.
yeah,
You have to keep
yeah.
it in
She's had
mind
some
that.
brilliant results.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Mm.
and she's had some brilliant results, not just in terms of her feeling and emotion and her own understanding of her body, but actual physical
Yeah.
laboratory results, which is showing the impact that the diet is having and the exercise, as
Yeah.
well as the yoga and the removal of medication is having on her body, and she's getting some some really good results.
Definitely, definitely, because it's just a beginning now. Once we tell the doctors to do after 6 months, blood sugar test, so they
Yeah,
take it normal. So you see that we repeat the test, it will be more perfectly normal, inshallah, ta'ala, everything will be
brilliant.
perfect.
Brilliant,
Okay.
inshallah. Yeah, definitely.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ
Thank you.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਾੜੀ ਆਖਰੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਸੋਚੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਹਕੀਮਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਪੀਰਾਂ ਕੋਲ
Oh,
ਆਲਮ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਮੈਂ ਗਈ ਆ ਪਤੇ ਕੁਝ
oh,
ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਕਿ ਮਸਾਜ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਭੇਜਨੇ ਸਨ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਗਲ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪਾਗਲਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਇਲਾਜ ਕਰਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਸਨੇ
जी. Thank
ਜਿਸ
you so
ਵੇਲੇ
much
ਮੈਂ
for this.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਲ ਜੁਆਇੰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਾ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਪੈਨਿਕ ਅਟੈਕ को नहीं होए
जी, मैं समझ गया आप जो बोलना
बिल्कुल
चाह रहे हैं कि आप कहाँ पर, that's what she's saying, she has been visiting so many people, like, for,
yeah yeah
Yeah,
and
yeah
yeah.
thank you
We were
so much,
just going
sister.
round
Thank you
and
so
round in
much.
circles.
ਨੇ
Yeah, that,
ਕਦੇ ਕਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੁਆ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਸਾ ਕੋਈ ਐਸਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੱਭੇ ਐਸਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੱਭੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਾੜਾ ਇਲਾਜ ਕਰੀ ਸਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ
जी.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋ
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much, sister. Sister, we have आपके पूरा team है अपने साथ, आपके साथ अपना जी, so
Mm,
very lot of people are there. Like, you have so many people to
yeah.
don't worry.
Thank you so
But
much. Thank you so
thank,
बहुत सारी
thank,
help हमारी की है. Thank
thank
you.
you for coming for the show. Thank you for coming for the show. We'll be in
No,
touch
no,
again.
you're
We'll
welcome.
come back
You're
again.
You're
welcome.
Thank you.
welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz. एक तो बंद कर सना
Okay, so now who's there next? That was a good Zakia. That's interesting. We have some good people who wants to discuss about us. That's interesting. So I can't hear you. Is she coming now, Gitika ji?
She was here. I think she's having problem with her connectivity.
No
We'll
problem. No problem. So let's talk a little bit of Zakia before she comes. Like, so Zakia, you know that what's a little bit. I want you to tell about a story when she joined. Actually, when she joined us, Gitika ji, she was 103 kgs.
okay.
When she joined us, when she was 103 kgs, and today she's just, I think, 82, 83 kgs. Right? Was the latest one.
That's too
So
much of weight reduction. That's
yeah, and
excellent.
she was diabetes, obese, diabetes, hypertensive, high lipids, right? Kidney issue, creatinine, right? Then she was having edema on the feet, everything reversed. She was sitting in the house, no work, nothing. And now when you message her, most of the time she's outside the house. So these dietary programs, people should be aware it is the dietary problem, and they should look for dietary interventions. The medicine doesn't have cure for type 2 diabetes, unfortunately. They are going in the wrong direction. And because of that, as I said, because my father was put on these medications, he was having metabolic issue. Okay. Though he's not diabetic, but he was having metabolic issues. And he died because of that, because he was put on too much of atorvastatins, too much of beta blockers, too much of there's no instruction on the food, which we went to the best cardiac specialist in the India. Best. He was one of the tops. We went there, but still he didn't discuss about food to us. Such a big gap here. What is happening, guys? We need to understand this. Let's have this world, Gitika ji. Let's do more of these programs on regular basis. So when is the next program? What we are coming up? Can you just tell the people when is the
Yeah,
next
we're
program?
coming up with yoga for kids,
Yeah.
which is going to be very interesting because we'll be having live demonstration. It will
Yeah.
be a live session where Dr. Surya will do yoga, and we would love if children, the more children join and they benefit from it. So it will be a live
Fantastic.
session.
Fantastic. Great. So, guys, thank you for everyone. So, let's say goodbye now. I think Zakia, we can bring Zakia on the next show. We have many clients with us. Don't worry. We have many clients who will want to come and give you some miraculous kind of stories. Is going to share their stories with us, their health journeys with us. So, keep following us. Follow us on YouTube channel. Follow us on. We are there on Facebook. We are on TikTok for people in UK. And please kindly follow us in all of our social media platforms, and follow the instinct, follow the food, follow this dietary programs, follow the dietitians. This is what I want to tell you now, because it's a fact now that dietitians have a lot of understanding about food. They can help you in a lot of issues, right? So I'm not telling you to avoid doctors this way. Definitely you need doctor, but the doctors, we are trying to empower doctors at the same time. We're trying to bring doctors also, not only dietitians. In our next phase, we want to bring doctors on our platform so that we teach the doctors also about the dietary program. It's quite easy. They should not basically. Unfortunately, I feel I have because when I was running this, like, initial days, Gitika ji, when I was in initial days of my medical school, I was running a diabetic camps on regular basis. I was doing the patients are diabetic. I prescribe insulins. I don't know how many patients I might have killed, unfortunately, without knowing myself. I have done so much of insulin, given so much of in the right, left, and center. Anybody high, put on insulin. How can you give insulin type 2 diabetes? That's big problem there. The problem with insulin in the body, and you're giving insulin on that. Oh, that is such a risk these doctors are taking. They become too risky. I must say this. So please follow us for right information for understanding how naturally you can reverse diseases, and to keep a track on our patients, how they are feeling with our programs. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be soon coming up with more interesting webinars. Thank you, and thank you for watching us, and please kindly share our video to others as well. Thank you. Take care.